on the cusp of returning to the NCAA tournament. You know that's the goal, and with an RPI at 13 coming into the week, 4 wins already in ACC play, now they're focusing on putting themselves, both these teams, in the best possible spot to turn it into a conference championship. With that, we are underway in Charlottesville. Mention what a beautiful night it is, 65 degrees. Going to drop to about 35 overnight, so that'll start trending that direction as we roll along. But you played on a number of nights like this in your career, Patty. You see how clear it is. The fans have filed in. It's that Klockner environment you would expect for a key conference battle.
Well, it won't get better than this. 65 degrees, clear night, senior night at Klockner Stadium, and just a tremendous atmosphere in one of the meccas of college soccer.
You saw Trace Alfin work his way into goal for Wake Forest a few moments ago. You know Holden Brown is going to be there for Virginia, has been every single minute, in essence, of the season. He's received every start for the Cavaliers. And the seniors honored a little bit earlier. You know they would like to rise to the occasion on a night in which so much is on the line in conference action. A little back and forth between these two to get things started. And Virginia's Reese Miller set to work this back in, weighing his options. Yeah, noteworthy ceremony taking place just prior to this night. And you see one of the seniors, Philip Horton, who was honored, one of several that were given plaques, and a moment just to reflect upon what had been tremendous careers for the Cavaliers. We'll talk about some of their contributions as the night goes on. A Wake team with possession right now, coming off of back-to-back wins, including a clean sheet out of the conference against the Wofford Terriers out of the SoCon earlier in the week. So some momentum for Wake, and Virginia, of course, impact victory against the reigning national champions in ACC play most recently, but coming off a contest against Hofstra, in which the Cavaliers were played to a draw right here at Klockner. Early chance for Virginia didn't quite materialize there as they tried to play it through to Reese Miller. What are the key elements to bouncing back after the result in that Hofstra contest, Patty?
Well, I think that was just a little bit of a letdown and perhaps an emotional hangover after a huge win on the road at the reigning national champions, Clemson. Virginia coming back and tying Hofstra. Of course, they had a lot of possession in that game and some chances, but that was a Hofstra team that sat in deep in that low block and really frustrated Virginia.
Here's Virginia again, 1v1 look, turned away by Alfin as he was waiting on the delivery from Leo Afonso.
And a golden opportunity there for Leo Afonso early on in this game. A little bit surprising not to see him drive a little bit more, had the 2v1 going.
Afonso, who just misses a chance at the header here, came in with 55 shots, 4th D1 wise. So he's going to take some cracks at it, you know. As we mentioned, the 5 goals and 3 assists where he is on the score sheet. Goal kick for Alfin. Well, trading headers, 3 or 4 of them in succession there before the whistle on the foul call. Niang among those near the top of the sheet for Wake Forest as well. And Mitchell right there also. He's taken hard to the turf.
All right, it's a good cutback there from Baba Niang just to draw that foul in a really dangerous spot here early on for the Deeks. You see Mitchell just knock this one off to Niang. A good cutback there from Baba Niang, and certainly a foul there from Gushie.
Mitchell and Niang working together often. Mentioned 3 goals for Niang, 2 assists. Mitchell, even with Sears atop the sheet, 6 goals, 3 assists on the year. Virginia setting up the wall here. First real potential consequential set piece in this contest to be taken by Fessler. Plays that straight on, hits the post. Virginia turns it away initially, and a cleanup look sails high. Boy, a lot happening quickly, and it all results and shakes out into a Wake corner kick.
I'll tell you what, Jason, you cannot hit a ball much better than that, what you just saw from Ryan Fessler. This is a tremendous free kick up and over the wall, really beating Holden Brown, but unable to get it past that right post.
Fessler, one of the many distributors on this Wake team, just has the one goal, almost doubled his total there. Does have the 5 assists to go along with it. That's a familiar frame. So many who are catalysts for the offensive impact of this Deacons squad. Forbes plays it short. A header to clear initially for Virginia. Well, taking charge. We've got a player down. And Patty, while they make sure all is well with Visa, let's take a look back at that free kick opportunity.
But Fessler just does so well from 22 yards out there, getting up and over the wall, dipping down, swerving, just a tremendous free kick. I mean, you can't really hit a ball better than that unless it's 2 inches to the right and in the back of the net. A tremendous effort there from Ryan Fessler early in this game.
Well, and it gives Wake Forest, having kept the pressure applied here early, a 3-1 advantage right out of the gate in shots, and to a nice applause from the Klockner faithful. Visa, the sophomore out of Germany, slowly works his way back toward the technical area.
And it has to be so frustrating for George Geldovich, really, to give up a really dangerous free kick in the same spot that they were beaten or beaten by a Hofstra goal on Tuesday night. And you got to think that has to be a huge point of emphasis for that Cavalier coaching staff in not giving up those type of opportunities in which they've been beaten already.
Well, he looks on as Wake Forest puts it back in action. That comes this way. Oh, a nifty move is up to challenge was Afonso. Wake, of course, the familiar starting lineup in that 4-3-3 formation. Forbes ran all the way to the far side, flag up, and it'll stay with the Deacons.
You can see, though, that Virginia game plan is to press Wake Forest early and often, trying to win back possession deep in their own half. It's actually something that Wofford was fairly successful with on Tuesday. They ultimately got pummeled 3-0, but early in that first half, Wofford pressing Wake Forest, giving them some issues.
It's going to be touched too strong, works its way out. You saw Visa there, no worse for the wear, which was a good sign for Virginia. He was mixing it up on the far side just after he was down just a few moments ago and being tended to by the training staff. Often playing that short. Wake Forest looking for a window to flip the field. You mentioned the Wake Forest victory, the shutout victory of the 3-0 variety against Wofford. That was after the most recent ACC win, which was a 3-1 win over Boston College. And that followed setbacks to both Syracuse and then on the road at William and Mary. So this is a Wake team turning the page from that tough stretch right at the start of October, with back-to-back victories coming into Klockner. Wake trying to test far post, but that's going to work its way well wide. And here is the head coach of the Virginia Cavaliers. And I think when you try to get into the mind, and you had a chance to talk to him this week, Patty, of Coach Gelnovich. He has to be pleased with the incremental progress of this team. It's been a unique mix this year, but they've seemed to come together down the stretch.
Well, I think it's a team that's gotten better as the season has gone on. Certainly, the last 2 years have been very disappointing for the whole program, and not making the NCAA tournament after 30-plus years straight in that tournament. And so they needed to raise the standard, and they have. And they're getting better game by game, and he has to be very pleased with how some of the young guys have come along and are starting to play their part.
Yeah, hard to imagine that you're looking at a roster with only a couple of guys that have NCAA tournament experience with the way things have gone historically here. Look no further than the 3 decades plus of the streak, of the run. But they certainly, having answered the bell here in 2022 and back in meaningful games down the stretch at Klockner. Big takeaway. You heard what the fans wanted, but it's Wake's possession. It's top 10 offense nationally for Wake Forest. Out shooting Virginia early 3-1. Though the only shot on goal is the Cavaliers' single shot thus far. But just waiting in here. The game right at 10 minutes old.
And I think one of the things to watch, especially early on, and he's had 2 good steps already, is the reinsertion of Aiden O'Connor into that back 3 for Virginia. He's been out for a few weeks now with a shoulder injury. He steps back in. Andreas Ueland goes to that right center back position instead of that middle, which we've seen him when Aiden O'Connor's been out. That allows them to do a few different things, but look for that 3 to mesh hopefully early on for George Gelnovich, because as you note, this Wake Forest attacking unit is as good as anybody really nationwide.
Yeah, both O'Connor and Orval both experiencing some time away, and when you begin to get those key pieces back in play as you head toward the postseason, going to be so critical for Virginia. And with the talent level of a player like O'Connor, what he's meant, is that a situation, Patty, where you can just slide right back in with no real signs of the layoff? Or are you going to see that from him tonight?
Well, I think it yet to be determined. Some guys do better than others. Certainly from what we've seen early on this first 11 minutes, though, that back 3 looks very solid to start. And Aiden O'Connor has been good in stepping and had a few good interceptions. So it's good signs early on, but I think it's yet to be determined. What his reinsertion does, though, beyond just what he brings, is it allows Andreas Ueland to go into that right center back spot, a spot in which he adds a lot more into the attack than he does from the middle in driving in possession and being really that first pillar, that first passer into break lines for the opponent.
Yeah, take a little pressure off of Ueland, not feeling the need to do too much. Ueland, of course, one of those seniors honored earlier as well. 7 goals, 3 assists. And when you talk about experience, NCAA tournament-wise, and how few there are remaining on this roster with it, he's the one you underscore. It's going to be slowed up just outside the box where the Wake attacker goes down. This is gathered up by Holden Brown as Mitchell was in the vicinity. We were talking about Ueland just a moment ago. Every moment of that run to the finals, that memorable team back in 19, announcing to Virginia fans early in his career what a staple he was going to be, and he has remained just that across the course of his career for Virginia. Masked up these days, still playing with just as much intensity as has been the trademark of his career. Well, Virginia trying to live in the attacking third a little more here in the last several moments, even if Wake is going to play this back into the grasp of Alphen on this occasion. Possession majorly trending Deeks in the early stages here. And Virginia making it difficult for Wake to get across the midfield line at the moment. waiting for a moment on some numbers to arrive perhaps, and then this is kicked just outside the 18. Well contested, and then in an effort to punch that through, it's just out of the reach of the intended target. Well, since those 3 early shots, and of course the one moment that stands out, the free kick in which the Deacons found the post unkind, there's just been the 1 shot since, taking Wake's total to just 4, and Virginia still steady at 1.
Yeah, I think it's been a bit sloppy, honestly, and in both ways. Really, certainly Wake has had the better of the play and the majority of the possession, but both teams really not as crisp as we used to seeing them, and it's been a choppy game thus far. A lot of fouls and really not a lot of possession being strung together either way.
Saw the collision there between Niang and Nylander. He's coming right up, try and challenge one more time. Whistle comes immediately. Been a busy start for Devat Arbacher. Of course, the AR, Rick Rogers. Rick Radfate, the other of the ARs. It's required great deal of attention to detail with the physical nature of the start here. Here's Virginia again, just outside the box. Effort to set something up. And this is going to be played back by O'Connor. Angorov, another of those, working his way in, becoming a key piece out of the portal for Virginia. A couple of goals, couple of assists to go with it this year. He's involved in that sequence, and we'll toss this in at the feet of Kappelsberger. Long, boy, the speed really grabs your attention. Makes that more of a foot race than you might have thought. With Willent making his way down there very quickly, and Holden Brown having to turn it up another notch to get there first and kick it away. Well, he really can find another gear, can he not?
Well, certainly, and now we've seen it a couple times, both with Willent and looking over the top to roll Mitchell. It's something that Cavaliers have to be very cognizant of. For as possession-oriented as this Deeks team is, they will also play direct when they need to, and certainly looking dangerous over the top early.
Colin Thomas changed the trajectory of the ball with his header. Afonso quickly back. Angrop just seeing too many of those gold Wake Forest Demon Deacon jerseys to get rid of it quickly. That comes down the line before Horton takes over. Played beautifully. Horton again, just worked maybe a little heavy off his foot there and allowed Wake to send it all the way down to the other end. Wow, way up top and ending up riding Mitchell to the ground that time. A little help up for O'Connor after the collision. After the Wake Forest foul, it'll be Virginia's chance to reset. Well, how quickly that turned around, but it's right off of one of those backline defenders for Wake Forest.
It's good work there from
right there where he needed to be.
It's good work though from Reese Miller, just cutting inside a bit and letting Rio Alfonso get on the outside of him. So I think when they have that airplay, Alfonso can cut inside for that chance. Better there from Reese Miller combining.
First Virginia corner of the contest. And we're off there to take it. And it'll come down in the grasp of Alfin, who was able to rise high above and take it away. Alfin already notching the lone save on the only shot on goal in this one. Virginia with a couple total now. Still doubled up by the Deacons at 4-2, but 3 of those coming very early. Really having settled into a back and forth without many looks of late. A lot of open space there. For Suzuki took over. Busy with it right in the circle, a little back and forth, and Virginia there for a while allowing little else. Couple of headers to play it forward for Virginia. Looked like that got just enough of O'Connor to disrupt any ball through for Wake. Right to the heart of the box, and Virginia turns it away. Capples Burger Company waiting to see what Wake will attempt to do, throwing this in from right at the attacking third, but works out to UVA. Well, our Sunday best tomorrow. What a field hockey doubleheader we have for you. Number 19 Rutgers taking on 12th ranked Syracuse at noon Eastern. Then it's off to Chapel Hill. Top-ranked North Carolina hosting 9th-ranked St. Joseph's University. Both those available to you on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Last couple of games of the soccer campaign. ACC seeding on the line. Virginia welcoming in a double-digit win Wake Forest team. Nothing on the board yet. This rattles around, and Holden Brown stretched the arms out to calm everybody before he fielded it on a hop to reset. Thought about going one direction with it. Turns and calls upon Hewlin. Wake foul on Mitchell. Mentioned the double-digit win total for Wake, and 11-win squad. At one time this season, the #1 team in the country for 6 consecutive weeks, and the top 5 in the country and working their way all the way back to 25th in the land. But you know, Patty, the pieces are still there for those high expectations that belong to Coach Bobby Muse's club at the start of the year.
Well, I think that's right, and it's as talented a team as we've come to know, really, in Winston-Salem in the Bobby Muse era. Just such a fantastic soccer mind, and they've just been inconsistent, really, throughout the fall. We know that they're quality. They have huge wins, like the 6-1 at Clemson. Clemson, a team, of course, that was number 10 at the time, and then, you know, going toe-to-toe with teams like Duke and Syracuse, which they certainly belong, but just a little bit of a hiccup in October, and you got to think, if you're Bobby Muse, maybe a good time to have a hiccup and a wake-up call for his squad, perhaps hitting their stride going into the postseason.
Yeah, if you can get it right when you head into the ACC tournament on the journey toward Cary, you'll take some of those challenges across the course of the year. Has been a tough October for this squad. Started out 9-0, and then, as you said, ran into some of those issues since. And you know, you split the last 6, 3-3, but coming off back-to-back wins and playing with a great deal of confidence early in this contest at Virginia. And Wake is set to threaten again here, as it will be sent to Colin Thomas near side. You talk about all the balanced scoring from this Wake team, and it is the balanced offense that grabs so much of your attention, Patty. But under Coach Muse, his Wake Forest team's posting top 15 defenses nationally on 4 occasions. So this team, you could say balanced offensively, but I think you also have to say balanced all the way around when you look at the recent additions of this Deacons club.
Well, I think that's right. Certainly a quality center back pairing in Garrison Tubbs and Prince Mponza, but really it's tough to score against Wake because you don't have the ball. Wake Forest really will dominate you in possession. They want to be on the ball, and they want to starve you of the ball throughout the game. I think that's really been the case the first 25 minutes here tonight, but it's tough to score on a Wake team if you can't find the ball.
Inside 19 minutes remaining in the opening half. A +3 shots advantage for Wake at 5-2. But Virginia with the only look on goal thus far.
And you can just see really in the last 5-10 minutes how far Virginia is being pushed back into their own end and really looking in that block, 2 blocks of 4, trying to not allow Wake Forest to create any chances. Good ball here down the channel.
What can Mitchell do with it? He'll end up turning. Just work that back to Fessler. Boy, nifty footwork to get a shot off, but it sails high and wide. Just about as good an effort as you can put together to create the scoring chance there, Patty, even if the finish was not to be.
Well, that's right. And good to see Kome Abogu check back in for the Cavaliers here. Didn't see him on Tuesday night, and we've talked about early on just the spark plug that he's been off the bench for Virginia. Look for him to perhaps get Virginia out of their own end and see if they can get him in behind.
Abogu, the sophomore out of Hoover, Alabama. As you can see there popping out of the boat for you just as we walk into it. 6 goals. Doesn't have an assist yet on the year, but that 6-goal total, it leads the way. Isn't it the top of the sheet overall in points, as that honor goes to Afonso with the 3 assists alongside the 5 goals. But he's tucked right in there with 12 points to the 13 Afonso has notched as a key contributor for UVA. Wake owning possession again of late. Trying to go at it here. You know, we were talking a little bit ago, Patty, about October and how different it has been. Some of the challenges Wake has run into after that red-hot start when back in late September on the 27th, they were at that time ranked #1 in the country. As you look back at what October has been like, how do you compare and contrast the 2 different portions of the season for this team?
Well, I think that statistic there kind of shows this story. I mean, of course, those first few games are non-conference, typically not as quality opponents as you would find in the ACC, though Wake Forest did play some very quality opponents in Coastal Carolina, West Virginia to start in their exhibitions and then moving along. But October is such a tough time for your team because this is when the fatigue starts to set in. You probably have a few injuries, a few knocks here and there, and you really have to grind it out. So really a tricky stretch for this Wake Forest team, and certainly October has not been kind of them. That being said, 2 quality wins in Boston College and Wofford at home, and certainly this Deacs team that can build on those results and is capable of making a very deep run in late November and December.
Certainly expect that to be the case with the high-profile nature of the way Wake entered 2022. Saw those substitutions, notably amongst them the native of Stockholm, Sweden, Oscar Sears back in the mix. 6 goals, 3 assists. In fact, the team leading mark of 15 points owned by both Mitchell, who we've talked a lot about already, and Sears, who has been the second on the list of contributors for Wake Forest this season. And dead even at the top in terms of goals. 14 different scores for Wake, by the way. That's one way that you can get noticed, and Sears among those. Think about this. 10 multi-goal scores, 6 with 3 or more goals for Wake Forest. When we use the term balance for Coach Muse's squad, that's why. 14 scores, 10 multi, 6 with a trio or more this season. That's pretty impressive.
Well, and the bench, really, how deep this Wake Forest team goes, something that sets it apart and something that can be huge as it gets late in the season. I mean, Bobby Muse is someone who is comfortable going 18 or 20 deep to his bench. That is not common, especially in the ACC, and especially as you get into crunch time in the postseason. Coaches normally are only going maybe 14, 15 deep. To have that extra talent and the ability to rotate can be huge, especially on short rest.
Everybody directing traffic all of a sudden. You saw Kappelsberger on the Virginia side of things pointing one direction, and Wake seeing something. But a whistle serves as a reset.
Number 11, Leo Guarino.
Closing in on 13 and a half minutes remaining in the opening period. No score between Wake and Virginia. And not only no score, for those who may be just finding us in the mid stages, now pushing toward the latter stages, I guess I should say, of this first half. Not only no score, but not a ton of looks on either side. Much of the contest having been played in the middle third, where you're seeing this transpire right now. Flag raised as it'll go back to Virginia.
It's really just been sloppy on both ends. You see another ball go out of bounds. I mean, neither team really looking at their peak performance and really stringing possessions, looking clean and crisp on the ball. And so to say there's no chances, yeah, I think that's right. I think it's because both these teams still really looking like they're feeling each other out.
Well, and let's take that elevated just a little bit, bigger picture. You were talking, as we were kind of discussing the last week or so and the season prior to the game, that it's been a bit of a wild and weird season all the way around in the ACC.
Well, I think that's right, and certainly there's been a lot of parity in the ACC as you see a good run down that left-hand side.
Boy, that transpired quickly for Mangaroff. The yellow card raised immediately. And pleading his case. What do you think there?
I think it might be a little bit harsh for me. I'm okay with the foul there on Mangaroff going at Rona here. It's just a bump there from the big David Rona, and it's maybe a foul. It's certainly not a yellow card.
So Rona, the Hoover native out of Alabama, one of those seniors on this Wake squad, assess the card, and we'll see if Mangaroff can take advantage in a prime location for Virginia. Boy, vacating was Alf and didn't get a hand on it, but it'll eventually trickle all the way out where Alfonso has to gather it up. And Alfonso kicks that back in. But just that quickly, Virginia's chance turned away. Alfonso, to this point, couple of shots to his credit in this one. And that's the total, sum total for UVA as well. His work with those 2 shots, the entirety of Virginia's chances. Able to win the battle to get high.
Foul, Wake Forest.
And the foul on Wake when all is said and done. A little bit shaken up. Zubogu, you said great to see him back a moment ago. Last thing you want to see him trotting away with that kind of tentativeness, and you know what's going through the mind of everybody on that. And I think that body language speaks volumes, does it not, Patty? Deep sigh from Coach Gelnovich there. Into traffic. And Karam's away. Well, coming up tonight at 11 Eastern, after Pitt and Louisville on the ACC Network, the ACC Huddle crew will have a complete wrap-up of the whole day. Highlights, analysis, interviews with players and coaches. They'll have you covered. That's available on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Trey Southman waiting. Single save to his credit thus far in this one on the lone shot on goal for Virginia and for either side for that matter. Running his total to 30 on the season. And 1,260 minutes under his belt coming into this one tonight. Did Alfin. See his key numbers pop out of the bug for you. That long, and it's going to work beyond. Holden Brown not required to notch a save to this point, despite 6 Wake shots. And he's been the staple in goal for Virginia this year. How would you assess Holden Brown's play on the season and what he's meant to Virginia, Patty?
Well, I think certainly up and down. He's had a few games in which there are goals that he's wanted to get back, and he's had a few that he's had some fantastic, really world-class saves. He's been fairly good with his feet, and certainly playing in that 3-back system, he's additive with the ball at his feet like here, but I think Holden Brown has grown as his team has grown and gotten better as the season's gone on.
And still plenty of room to grow in the young stages in many ways of his career when you look at where he sits on the roster. Sophomore out of Zionsville, Indiana. Has become, as we said, consistent force in goal for UVA. Bogu and Afonso, and he has cut a cartwheel as Afonso. And in disbelief there, you see Afonso just kind of slam the arms down toward the ground at the end of that sequence.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what he's frustrated about there. A great tackle in the end from Garrison Tubbs just to stick Alfonso, and perhaps he's frustrated himself because he wasn't unable to get around Garrison Tubbs. But it's a better sequence from Virginia and certainly looking like they're more dangerous going forward.
Closing in on 8.5 minutes remaining in the opening period. It may come as no surprise when you think about the way these two teams have performed in the second half this year, that this thing may be settled in the second half. 24 of the 38 goals scored by Wake this year have come in second half action. And for Virginia, 18 of the 27 goals the Cavaliers have scored have come in the second half. So two teams in many ways that can kind of warm into it along the way. That played right back. And then eventually chased down by Kappelsberger. Of course, so much of the good work having to be done in the second half as you long since know by now, no overtime in the regular season this year adds a little bit of a different wrinkle, and the urgency to get it done in that final 45 when things are tight in the second half of action. We've seen the intensity with which teams have played down the stretch as a result of not being able to gain those 3 critical points in an extra frame. Unable to push that across, but boy, a great decision to just earn the corner that time by Mangaroff, who takes it to the far flag.
And it's a better sequence from Virginia, starting to feel their way into this game through possession. We've seen it all under now on the ball a little bit more. He was a ghost in the first half hour, so good to see him deep in midfield for Virginia, pivoting the game a bit.
Well, this is the second corner for Virginia. The teams were even at 1 apiece prior to this. First such opportunity, you'll remember Trace Alvin went up, secured it himself. Virginia tried to get the header squared away, but this taken back to the top of the 18. And Wake will withstand it after the foul call on Virginia. So the Cavaliers a couple of corners. Just the one for Wake, a +3 advantage in shots for Wake Forest at 6-3 in 6 minutes. What we are about to cross over in Charlottesville on a beautiful night for a key ACC soccer contest. Both these teams coming in second in their division. They're the weekend striking distance of both the Atlantic and the Coastal respectively. But even more than that, trying to make sure they earn those first round byes, which are afforded the first 4 teams among all finishers in the league. And this would be a huge step in the direction of locking that down for whoever comes out on top here. One of these teams can earn a decision. And for those who may not follow it quite as closely, that also means home contests in the early rounds of the ACC tournament. To not play right away and then work your way from the friendly confines of your own environment to Cary, where the championship of the conference is ultimately settled. So much on the line, all of that to say between these two tonight. More than just the latest win in a series that stretches across 60+ games now, more than just a ranked win, as both these teams find themselves tucked just inside the top 25. A lot of conference implications. Here's Wake, shot from distance and outside the box. It goes wide of Brown. Hewlin taking that about a third of the way up the field. Comes to the middle, all kind of open real estate around Mangaroff. He only wanted it for a moment. Played long by O'Connor, all the way to the far side. Well, as we close in on the final minutes of this first half, your impressions of what we've seen thus far?
Well, I think there's not a lot in this game thus far, really, as both teams have done well. They've been organized defensively and not given up a lot. I think the first probably half hour of this game, Wake looked very comfortable in possession, and probably the last 10, 12 minutes, Virginia has been played that part. So not a whole lot in the game, and it'll be interesting to see as they go into the locker room for halftime and in the second 45, which team is willing to maybe come out of their shell a bit, put some numbers forward, and try to get that opening goal and perhaps 3 points in a pivotal ACC matchup.
Yeah, it seems like it's taken Wake as twice as long to double the shot total as what they had out of the gate. You mentioned it. It was a hot start for Wake in terms of looks, and you really go back, if you want to point to a moment that one of these teams could have really capitalized, to the free kick for Wake Forest that went off the post. That stands out as the chance on either side.
Well, and I think I would argue that there's been one on either side. I'm sure we'll see it at halftime in our highlight package, but that chance that Leo Alfonso had running in a 2v1 early on in this game, maybe he'll look back and want that one back, because I think it was a better chance than he realized, and he settled for a look from about 18 yards out that went straight to Trace Alford in the game. But certainly, you're right. Ryan Fessler's free kick off the post is the closest we've come to a goal thus far.
Well, and as a result, to your point, it's a great one, Patty. You got the one shot on goal in this contest thus far, and it belongs to Virginia at that moment. 2 and change remaining. A little bit of urgency as these teams try to steal something away down the stretch in this first 45. Gashi playing this back to those who have the vision to see what is there for the taking. Bogu, and he was looking in the direction of Afonso. And you see the communication as it went just too wide to the right side of Afonso. Afonso has 2 of Virginia's 3 shots in this first half. And the one Patty documented for you a moment ago, the better of the chances. With these 2 teams playing to the tune of the high stakes that exist on this night in Charlottesville. Final minute of the half. You'll want to stick around at the break. We'll look at what has taken place already this weekend and the implications on the conference standings in the upcoming tournament. Just one more chance after this for teams to change their standing. West Virginia, who will close up with North Carolina, and Wake Forest closing up with Louisville. That's all that remains after the opportunity in front of them right now as it winds toward the end of the half.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
So the half will come to a close with 7 Wake Forest shots to 3 of them for Virginia. Just the one on goal that belongs to UVA, and these teams, Patty, playing to an even contest at the break.
Yeah, I think even is completely fair. Maybe not their best 45 from either side, but
certainly across the last couple of years to get this team back in position for a return to the NCAA tournament and back in the top tier of the ACC, where they're battling it out with another foe that shares that designation. A top tier battle in conference action begins its second half between Wake Forest and Virginia. Nothing on the board, as you can see, just yet, and just 10 combined shots between the 2 teams. We'll see how they respond to the challenges from these 2 outstandingly respected coaching staffs at the half. Let's talk adjustments for the final 45, Patty. What do you see first with Wake Forest, adjustments-wise?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a tremendous amount that's going to be different tactically from Wake Forest. It's just got to be cleaner on the ball and certainly move it a little bit faster, see if you can get at Virginia and play in combination in and around their attacking third. And I think it's really the same for Virginia, to be honest. I mean, they looked good defensively. They were tactically sound. They frustrated Wake Forest, not allowing them to get in behind. I thought Aiden O'Connor had a fantastic first half in dealing, especially with Roll Mitchell. But going forward, they have to be a little bit better on the ball and see if they can connect some more passes.
Fonzo trying to create something early, working together with Horton. Wake Forest able to get the numbers back. And Horton decides to reset to Visa. Tried to cross that to Afonso. Couldn't find his foot. And Horton reached out. But in the end, this one going to belong to Trace Alford. We saw those senior day festivities just a little bit earlier. I know you were a part of that. When you have this night to reflect upon the contributions you've made to the program you selected, well, what's it like to be a part of that moment when the program itself turns, pauses, and says thanks?
Yeah, I think certainly it's an emotional time, and especially getting your family together on senior night and having that moment to look back. it's a little bit tough to know that it's coming to a close, but certainly a grateful moment and one that these players will remember for a long time to come.
And it has to be nice for this senior grouping to know that after what the last couple of years have been, Patty, they have this team in position to make sure that career is going to end in the NCAA tournament.
I think that's certainly right, and one that, if you look at Virginia as a program 3 years ago, it would have been unthinkable that a team would set a goal of just making it back to the tournament. But that's the case here, and this is a team that is going to achieve that goal, and hopefully for George Galavach's staff go a bit farther. But yeah, these are guys who have had a little bit of a bumpy road in Charlottesville, and it's got to feel good to be going out as the program is starting to get back to preeminence.
Into traffic, and this one caroms off and away. Well, we've talked about it many times, but this is a Virginia program that in some ways was a victim of its own success. They had a number of players who bloomed so quickly are now making their marks at the professional level, did so at the Olympic level, and they had those gaps to fill immediately. You saw that result in some of the scuffling to try to put the pieces together across the last couple of years. And you have to, in the end, say a great coaching job for one of the legends of this sport to end up going to the portal in some cases, doing the development necessary in some cases to bring it all back around and put together what we've seen in 2022.
I think that's right, and it really shows up nowhere more than in the middle of the center of the park for Virginia. The difference in this team versus the last 2 years really has been that trio in the center of midfield, and Gushy, Mangaroff, and Axel Allender, two of which came from the portal, and another that is a freshman from recruiting-wise. I think that is the difference in this group, and certainly George Galavach, Matt Chulis, and staff, they've gone out and they've started to rebuild this program to what they know it can be.
One of the great conversations I thought early in the year. Virginia tries to put something together here against Alphen, but it's turned away by Wake Forest, was when he said, in the case of a couple of those gentlemen you're talking about, Mangaroff, who was at UNCG, and Islander, James, he said, we saw them play against us, and what they did against us was impressive enough that we wanted to bring them over and put them in Virginia colors. So had the ability to look at what some others were doing and what had happened to his squad. And he said, in the end, we're glad to have them in our colors because of how effective we saw them when they were lined up against us. So looking everywhere, including across at the other bench, to find that talent necessary to put this team together, this Virginia staff. Set piece coming for the Hoos from near midfield. Just 5 minutes or so into this second half. Visa getting ready to take it. Rattles around off of Sears. And it's earned for UVA. The latest of the chances. Speaking of Mangaroff, who we were talking about just a few moments ago, he'll once again take it to the flag. This category Virginia owns so far tonight, 3-1. Cleared by Wake Forest.
It's a good ball in there from Mangaroff. That's twice now that we've seen that ball to that back post. Trace Alphen misjudge it, and really those are tremendous chances for Virginia.
Yeah, the first corner for UVA, he went up and snatched it away. The last two, a completely different story. Nothing to show for it yet, however. Wow, that was high off the body. And as you might expect, it's going to take a moment for Forbes.
Paul Visa whipping that ball in with some serious pace. Jelani Forbes gets the worst of it. You just hope he can pop up here. Looked like the ball straight to the face.
Staff out to take a look. As again, last thing you want to see As Jelani Forbes is the Wake Forest player again that they are tending to after taking that at close range. And beginning to work his way to his feet now. And there's the toughness on display. Nice hand from the fans here at Clocker. A little bit of sportsmanship as well as Visa comes over. And good to see him walking away. And as Forbes takes his time, and rightfully so, heading toward that Wake Forest bench. Forbes out there the entirety in this one thus far for Wake Forest. Among those taking the Ironman approach tonight. Here's Hewland. Visa plays that heart of the box.
Foul, Virginia.
Palms up. Arlander trying to ask what took place there. See Suzuki in the thick of it. We talked about the building of this program for Virginia and doing it against a schedule very difficult. The 7th ranked opponent this season in town tonight in this Wake Forest squad. Some assess the 2nd toughest of the schedules nationally when you look at what Virginia has had to play in the slate there. This is stellar Wake Forest team. We talked about it earlier. They were at one time top ranked nationally. One of a handful of teams with double-digit wins on the year. Playing even with the Cavaliers at the moment. Laying the full body out to turn it the other way. Deacons, though this ends up O'Connor's. Coming this way. Niang taking his time with it, gets by Visa, and he'll play this right on at Holden Brown, who was waiting.
Baba Niang with some good footwork there on that left-hand side, just to cut in a tough angle to test Holden Brown, and certainly an easy catch there for the sophomore.
Interestingly enough, first shot on goal for Wake Forest, 8th shot total for the Demon Deacons. And now both teams have one officially listed as on goal in the contest. Mentioned this. First things first, here comes Afonso, sends that to the middle. Wake, long left-footed effort to send that up the line. Mitchell Wake
this has been a good opening 10 minutes for Virginia, Jason. Just looking a little bit crisper in possession, pushing the tempo a bit into Wake Forest's half. We didn't really see that in the opening 45, and you got to think George Ganovich likes what he sees to start the second half.
His team with possession right now. Like perhaps Horton was going to be there, but Wake turned it away. Just going to say about Wake Forest, Deacons coming into this weekend of action was one of just 4 teams in the country with 12 victories. And the flag is going to be raised as Virginia tried to set something up there. If you're wondering about it, number 1, Washington. Number 4, Syracuse. Number 10, Vermont. The other teams entering the weekend having reached the 12-win plateau. For as tough as we talked about it, October may have been for Wake Forest, this is still a team, when you look at their overall body of work, that has put together quite a season. And Patty, not often you're going to see a program having notched 12 wins at this juncture in the season, and they're this far back in the top 25, having worked their way there after being #1 in the country earlier. But it speaks to the rare air they're in to understand just 4 teams in the entire land having notched that many wins thus far in 2022.
Yeah, and I think maybe that 25 ranked due to the fact that only 1 ranked win of those 12, and they've certainly got the business done when they were supposed to, though, of course, slipping up to William & Mary a couple weeks ago. But this is a Wake Forest team that is very talented, and as we've said time and again, capable of making a deep run in the postseason, but looking for a signature win. That could come tonight, though, on the road at Klockner Stadium.
It's been tough on the road at times. Down to Visa. Crosses that to the middle, flying in there to look for the header. Alfonso, it was not to be.
And yet again, service coming in there from Paul Visa. He's been so active in that right wing back spot to start this second half, just overloading in that space. Another really good ball into that 6-yard box.
Boy, you said it. This second half, certainly the first third of it here, seeing Virginia with the foot on the throttle. 5 shots now for UVA. How about this takeaway for Ulen? Tried to feed that off, and Wake Forest with the perfect response. But Ulen's takeaway was something to behold.
Well, certainly a very good step from Andres Ulen. We were talking about it in the first half, the reinsertion of Aiden O'Connor. Let's Andres Ulen go a little bit forward from that right center back spot, and this is a case in which he did a really good job of that step, creating the opportunity in possession for the Cavaliers.
Alfonso has to make an adjustment just to keep that alive, and then he's sent to the deck. Yeah, you were referencing in discussion of Wake's scenario this season, how they're looking tonight for that trademark road win. If you're glancing at the challenges, 3-2 on the road, 3-4-2 last year on the road, sometimes away from the friendly confines have been a bit of a challenge, and that's what they're trying to turn. Now, let's take a look back at that sequence just a second ago here, Patty, the turnover.
Well, again, it comes from a really bad pass here from Trace Alphen. He's looking to break some lines. It's a good idea, but the problem is, what's he going to do there? He puts his center mid in a bad spot. A good turnover there created by Andres Ulen, and then ultimately can't slip that ball to Mangaroff for the chance, but really good sign. Good step in from the senior Andres Ulen to create a chance in transition.
And Virginia's still with it. Long toward Alfonso. Header to take care of business, as it'll be Virginia's throw in on the far side. Fans at Klockner have to be loving where Virginia's living right now, though. Setting up shop in striking distance. Here's Ulen again. Quick feet for Visa, but he plays it back. Transition for Wake. Wake unable to get penetration into the box initially. And now Suzuki down. On the Virginia foul. Well, we're keeping an eye on everything happening around the ACC this late in the season. And they're playing even thus far, Syracuse and NC State as well.
And that first goal there from Noe Cabezas putting NC State up before an own goal equalizing there just a minute after. So certainly a good match there. Syracuse and NC State. NC State trying to come up with a big upset heading into the postseason.
Set piece for Wake Forest. It's taking a moment to get rolling. And now it appears Fessler ready. Heading by Mitchell, but then Virginia was waiting. From much further distance, but mindful of Fessler's chance very early in this one. On a set piece, one of the better of the looks on either side tonight. Yeah, I'm interested as we look at ACC scores. We talked a lot about the upcoming tournament during halftime. Who do you see as that middle tier team? Well, we'll hold that. Something through for Wake Forest.
Virginia.
And it's going to be a goal kick for Virginia when it all shakes out. But a little conversation with Niang coming here.
And this is a huge decision from the center referee, David Erbacher, in the end. Baba Niang certainly thinking that he might have drawn that penalty. It's a little iffy for me, but a good run again from Baba Niang getting deep into that Virginia end.
Well, that's one of those, you said it, decision has to be made by the referee, and here's exactly what he saw.
Yeah, it's just a coming together there with Paul Visa, shoulder to shoulder, and a good no call in the end from Erbacher.
So here is Holden Brown's goal kick. Takes it to the middle where Horton trying to see if Virginia can do something quickly. Through to Afonso, and he will deposit it left side to put Virginia out front 1-0. Leo Afonso again, as he has notched his 6th of the season to pull even for the team lead, and he shows you why he has been just that, a leader for UVA all season long. There's the long-awaited goal. Well, you talked about the chance he had in the first half and how Virginia itself keeping the pressure applied here in the early to middle stages of the second, and Afonso, Patty, finally breaks through.
Well, breaks through indeed. It's Route 1 soccer. I mean, this is a chance seemingly coming out of nowhere. It's a goal kick. Again, think about the no call coming together between Paul Visa and Baba Niang. This is the ensuing goal kick. Goal kick from Holden Brown that he doesn't like. He mishits. It's a good flick in the middle there from Gashi, and then Phil Horton does really well taking on Garrison Tubbs. A great slip, and this is a fantastic one-time finish from Leo Afonso to put the Hoos up 1-0 in a huge contest.
Yeah, do not miss the work of Philip Horton to create that chance as he notched his 3rd assist of the season on that Afonso's 6th goal. Virginia has a lead as we close in on the final 27 minutes of this one. Another of those second half goals for Virginia, the 19th out of now 28 total that have been scored by this team. Here's that reaction you were talking about from Brown.
Yeah, just a little bit of a mishit there from Holden Brown, and I think maybe one that will be cut into the film review session for tomorrow for the Cavaliers, but all's well that ends well in the end.
There's Horton again, this time Wake with a response. Things changing in the 63rd minute. Off the assist of Horton, the goal by Afonso. And as you can tell from the sights and sounds, a lot of life inside Klockner Stadium right now as well.
The ante is just going to be risen again. A good ball in here for Roll Mitchell.
Shot taken. That's going to sail high and wide from Colin Thomas off the feed from Mitchell. Thomas, the junior out of Canton, Georgia. It was one of those multi-goal scorers on the year, has a couple to his credit, alongside 4 assists. And that's what you watch for Wake, too. He's one of the many distributors on this team. Here's Mitchell to play it his direction.
Well, when you let Andres Ulen bomb forward into the attack like we've been referencing earlier, this can be the result. A ball in behind in that space vacated by the big right center back, and then ultimately a chance squandered by Colin Thomas. But I would expect this game to open up, certainly, as Wake starts to look for that equalizer, and you'll start to see it go more end-to-end action, something we really didn't see in the opening hour of this contest.
9th shot for Wake Forest. Just one of which on goal for the Deacs.
Foul, Wake Forest.
This foul is going to be whistled against Wake. Going to be assessed to Garrison Tubbs there. Tubbs, who opened the scoring in the 14th minute of that most recent contest for Wake Forest, the 3-0 shutout of Wofford, recent contributor. Talked a lot about him yet tonight. Whistled for the foul here in this sequence, and Virginia has an opportunity off the set piece. Swatted away by Alphen. Kashi. Back to Afonso. Well, how about the hand fighting there to try to win the ball? Ends up in the whistle and the foul call. With the college hoop season right around the corner, we'll have our annual Nothing But Net men's season preview show for you Wednesday night and the women's preview show on Thursday night, both at 10 Eastern. We'll have extensive breakdowns of every team. It's all here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Hard to believe basketball right around the corner, right, Patty? But that also means consequential soccer day in, day out from here forward. 23 and change remaining. A match that Virginia now leads 1-0. On Afonso's goal just moments ago. Alphen plays that short into that far corner. I was going to ask you a moment ago, as we talk about that postseason soccer that's coming, and certainly the ACC tournament, who do you see as that middle tier team that could make some noise based upon what we've watched down the stretch in ACC play?
It's really good work there to win the corner from Nils Orwell. But I think, to your question, it's kind of interesting this year. If you look at the middle of the pack of the ACC, it's not really some of the typical top-tier teams are in that middle of the pack. This being one of them, Wake Forest, if they're not able to get a result here, they're going to be squarely in the middle. So certainly Wake Forest, Clemson is sitting only 7 points right now. And then you look Pitt, North Carolina. So there's going to be a lot of good first and second round games in the ACC tournament that are meaningful, especially for NCAA tournament seeding.
A moment that is meaningful perhaps for Virginia. Fourth corner taken by Visa. As UVA looks to double the lead, this one going to be handled by Alphen this time as he turns away Virginia's latest corner opportunity. Horton, who was the gentleman responsible for creating the scoring chance for Virginia, in the thick of it again here. Working hard to win the ball in the corner and earning that foul call. Boy, you saw the emotion bubble over one more time as Niang let his thoughts be known.
Well, and Virginia's doing a really good job frustrating Wake Forest, especially in this second half. You've seen a couple times now, not only Trace Alphen with a couple passes trying to force things into the middle, but Garrison Tubbs having to sit on the ball. Virginia's pressing deep in Wake Forest's end, and Wake Forest so comfortable usually in possession playing through the lines. They haven't really found that here tonight, and it's a credit to Virginia and the press that they're putting on coming out of the locker room for the second half.
Well, I'll say this to kind of finish that thought about what you were talking about, middle-tier teams in the ACC that we were getting into just before the corner was earned quickly. The fact that you're talking about the defending national champions and a team in this Wake Forest group that's trying to piece something together again right here. Let's see what Wake does with this. The fact that you're talking about the reigning national champs and a team that a little under a month ago was #1 in the country as both middle-tier teams in the league, that speaks volumes about the ACC.
Well, the defending national champions are 2-4-1 in the conference.
Yes.
I mean, they can't find their footing. The same, really, the defending conference champions. I mean, Notre Dame sitting
Yes.
at 3-4, and just a couple weeks ago we're at 1-4. I mean, it's just such a competitive league, and you wouldn't expect nothing less, but seemingly surprising every time it does happen.
Yeah, and then you got this, we said it, tremendous start, unbeaten for the Wake team through the first portion of the season. And they're still very dangerous here. Key substitutions taking place. Boy, Philip Horton having been so important for Virginia thus far tonight, making the best of what has been his senior night experience for UVA. Of course, came into this night, did Horton, as you saw him trotting away there in the substitution group. 7 goals, 3 assists career. I guess you kind of knew for Philip Horton when 290 minutes were there as a true first year, as a true freshman, that it was going to be a special run. And he certainly capped it, at least to this point tonight, with another key moment. Good footwork, chance for Wake, and that will carry him away. But a corner is earned for Wake. This is just the second corner for the Deacons tonight that Wake Forest is getting ready to set up.
And a good run into the box by Rold Mitchell there. A block in the end from Andreas Hewlin, but certainly danger from Rold Mitchell here. Just able to turn Aiden O'Connor there, and then the effort.
Hewlin came out, closed up all lines for Virginia defensively, and that punch just a little too strong from Suzuki, and it'll be a Virginia goal kick. A couple of shots from the combo of Mitchell and Niang tonight. Responsible for 4 of the now 10 for Virginia, or for Wake Forest, I should say. There have been 10 shots for the Demon Deacons to 7 for Virginia. But where it counts, everything holding steady at 1-0 Hoos on the strength of that goal in the 63rd minute by Afonso. Horton, who we were talking about a few moments ago, on the assist on that occasion.
And yet again, that Virginia press causing issues for Wake Forest, not allowing them to get out of their defensive third, winning possession back.
Afonso. He's down, and that's going to be a 12th foul call on the Deacons. If you're tracking that, that's 12 on Wake Forest, 10 on Virginia. Number of whistles tonight in what's been a very physical ACC battle. Afonso looks on as Mangroff gets ready to put this back into action. Header, post. As Allender tried to lay one home.
Yeah, it looks like Axel Allender just a little bit overzealous, finding an offside position. Wouldn't count it anyway, but a free header there inside the box for Axel Allender, trying to double the lead.
Left-footed punch to remove that from harm's way. How about the control from Mitchell right there? As he ended up keeping possession for Wake Forest to get it to Sidney Paris.
Entering for Wake Forest, number 2.
Wake throw incoming.
Coming in for 14, Jelani Forbes.
Substitutions coming for Wake Forest as well. See Bo Cummins working in. Breather provided for Forbes. Couple of saves tonight for Alphen, and the 1 goal allowed. Afonso and company.
Foul, Virginia.
Well, you knew you were going to get a whistle there. And a little encouragement to just calm things a bit by our referee. Closing in on the final 15 minutes of action here. You mentioned the urgency that will be there as we expect to see that from Wake Forest across this final third of the last 45. This Wake team having scored 38 goals to 14 allowed on the year coming in. So the ability there, and it can come from all directions on this very balanced squad. 14 different names in the score sheet already. Contested well by Allender again. And he's still in there battling, using every part of the body to try and win possession for Virginia. Stays with Wake here. That's until Mangrove pushed this forward. In the end, it's going to be the foot of Alphen that it finds. Back to the middle, Fessler. Fessler officially the one shot tonight. Quick turn. Right away. And here's Afonso again. Boy, that became a little dangerous all of a sudden for Holden Brown.
I'm not sure Holden Brown wanted to get himself in that situation, but nonetheless able to get out through Nils Orhol.
Well, a reminder, ACC PM with Mark Packer, Trey Boston, Taylor Tannenbaum. All the latest from around the conference. That's Wednesdays at 4 Eastern on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Header playing this back. Suzuki to Alphen. Well, Virginia, one would think, pretty content with extended sequences like the one we just saw, but Wake Forest trying to flip it right now. No cross available to get it into the heart of the box where Mitchell was located. Both Mitchell and Niang right there, but this comes from the top of the 18, just outside the box. A shot from distance from the newly entered Bo Cummins a few moments ago.
And you're starting to see Virginia now dropping a little bit deeper, making it tricky for Wake Forest to break them down through possession. On that last extended possession for Wake Forest, you really saw Virginia dropping into 2 blocks of 4, very condensing around their box, not allowing Wake to combine.
Rona notable among the substitutions back in for Wake Forest, as you saw Thomas, who took one of those earlier key shots for Wake Forest, come off, and Philip Horton, who had the assist on the lone goal of the night, is back in the mix for Virginia. If you just found us, it came in the 63rd minute, a goal by Leo Afonso, his 6th of the year, off the Horton assist. Chance created by Horton off of a goal kick that, as you said, Patty, may not have been textbook or according to plan, but it paid dividends for Virginia in the end as Horton took it quickly into striking distance and Afonso provided the finish.
And I think now you'll see that reinsertion of Phil Horton. He does the work defensively, and that's actually probably a defensive substitution to put him back in, see if he can shore up, provide that pressure that he has been all game.
Virginia trying to make this stick for the final 10-20. Well, and here comes the yellow card out of the pocket of our referee, as Hollander was again right there in the mix. He will be assessed the yellow.
Well, and Baba Niang, again, really the most active player you had to say for Wake Forest here tonight, asking questions, trying to combine. Ultimately, Hollander standing in his way, not allowing him to continue that run, and rightly booked.
Second caution of the contest coming here in the 80th minute. Hollander's direction after Rona received one in the 33rd for Wake. Here's how Hollander's was assessed.
Yeah, I'm just stepping in front of the run of Baba Niang. The right decision from David Erbacher. Professional foul from Axel Hollander.
And here's Wake Forest again into that wall. Deacons staying with it. Though Reese Miller was making it difficult to find any lanes on the far side.
And you see Andres Ullin just replacing that mask. It was him who was able to jump in that wall, block this free kick with just Tuesday night where the ball went straight over Ullin's head and into the back of net for Hofstra. So a good block this time from Andres Ullin, but looks to be feeling the effects.
And here's Afonso down now. Holding just below the right hip area on that far side. Looks like the UVA training staff is going to be needed. Well, you said it earlier, Patty, but worth underscoring. Coach Gelnovich has to be very pleased with the way his team emerged from the intermission in this critical ACC contest.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this game has been played in the second half largely in Wake Forest's half of the field, and that has to do as much with what Virginia is doing when they don't have the ball as what they're doing when they have it. They've been pressing deep into Wake Forest's end. This is a Wake team that loves to play in possession. They love to put the ball on the floor, and they've looked very frustrated throughout this second half, not able to really break those Virginia lines and flip the field.
Yeah, the lead was the trio, Afonso, Horton, Bogu coming in. Afonso and Horton combining, two of those three for the impact moment of the night for Virginia as Afonso works his way off now following the extended stoppage. And Euland, the other storyline was senior night. He's a reminder of that as he's played so tough to keep the 0 on the board. And a clean sheet thus far. Set to resume with just under 10 minutes remaining. Horton setting a bit of a pick there to keep Cummins, who now tosses it in. Away. Here's a right-footed play for Wake. That was Mitchell again, just couldn't win possession cleanly to do much with it. Mangroff in the middle, that's through to Horton. Afonso there with help, but a double team on Horton, and it's taken away by Tubbs. Afonso chases this down. He now felt the double team. As important as anything for Virginia, precious moments working their way past with the Who's in possession. Visa comes up. Won't be able to grab it right away, and it's Suzuki. The thing about Wake Forest in need of a late goal is one of those major storylines that we've revisited a time or two. It can come from anywhere. Here's a chance, but you hear the whistle just as quickly as it looked like there might be a chance. Offsides, Wake Forest.
But a little bit of a break here for Virginia. It's a freshman, Christian Scribiano, getting into the box in a really dangerous spot, ultimately called offside, or else he would have been 1v1 with Holden Brown.
At the first time, and it comes at a tough time, the offside call against Wake Forest. Virginia on a couple of occasions seeing the flag raised, but Wake in need of a chance with something transpiring, and the offside whistle turning it away. And here's Virginia again. Horton was camping out right there at the top of the 6, but there was nothing coming as Wake Forest handled it. Well, let's check one more time that Syracuse-NC State contest.
Well, that would be a massive result for NC State down in Raleigh, battling with Syracuse, who's looked so solid, probably the best team in the ACC thus far this fall. To hold them to just a point would be a fantastic result down in Fort George Kiefer.
Verley, another of the seniors, seeing his last regular season action here at Klockner into the contest here on senior night. Of course, hopes for Virginia that it will not be the last action these seniors see at Klockner Stadium, a place that has been so kind to Virginia soccer over the years. And if this can hold for the next 5:45, these 3 points, Patty, would be a major step in that continued direction. Here's Horton again. Challenged beautifully by Tubbs one more time. How many times have we called Tubbs' name of late? He really has been in the mix for Wake Forest in the last several moments.
It's been a fantastic battle really all night between Tubbs and Phil Horton. Two big physical players going at it, and Phil Horton does really well in the last sequence just to win possession back for Virginia, keep Wake Forest locked in their own end.
Tubbs, a Wake junior out of Brunswick, Georgia. Mangroff. That works its way back to him. He's still fighting through traffic and is able to get to the doorstep before it's taken away.
Goal kick, Wake Forest.
It'll rest on the foot of Alphen now with the Wake goal kick. Opts to play it short here. 4 and change remaining in Charlottesville. Well, it appeared on that occasion Garino pulled all the way backward, and once again reaching in the pocket for that yellow card, our official.
Well, Garino trying to break here. It's a good professional foul, really, from Moritz Kappelsberger just to stop that Wake Forest attack in its tracks. Certainly a yellow card here on that fifth-year Moritz Kappelsberger, but it's a good give and go there to find Garino, and then a little bit of a horse collar there from Moritz Kappelsberger.
Yeah, it's a Saturday, right? You got to get one of those in here and there.
15-yarder.
As far as one of those references, throw the flag. In this case, it's the yellow card assessed from our referee, David Erbacher, to Kappelsberger here in the 86th minute.
Hey, watch 18, Reese, 18, watch him. Right foot.
Tubbs working off. Boy, what a warrior he has been for Wake Forest on this night. Just tremendously impressive with his performance. 4 minutes even remaining. You wonder if you're Wake Forest, how many chances remain like this. Header from distance, it was on target, but Holden Brown was right there. Holden Brown notching his second save, both he and his counterpart on the other end, Trace Alphen, with a couple of saves apiece in this contest. You see where the shots on goal are in real time. The difference-making moment, it came in the 63rd. Alfonso off the assist of Horton. That still stands. As all that has been secured with 3:10 to play. Alfonso trying to get enough on it. Horton was in the general vicinity.
Foul, Virginia.
Another foul as Hollander tried to get the foot out there. Virginia looking for what would be its 40th win all time against Wake Forest. Cavaliers at 39-14-8 all time against the Deacons. Another whistle, and boy, the emotions bubble over a bit for Hollander there. And another yellow card having been assessed. Those coming in force down the stretch in this contest. When it all shakes out, Cooper Flax plays this. And continuing to work for it in there. Whistles came prior. As Wake was in search of the equalizer, And it looked like Samuel Jones way up above the fray there, Patty.
Well, there's a few Wake Forest players just backing into Holden Brown, not allowing him to get out and get a piece of that ball. Certainly David Erbacher making that call well before Wake put that ball into the back of the net.
Just 95 seconds as Virginia tries to salt away what would be a 1-0 victory. Here it is.
And you see it is just a Wake Forest player there backing his way down into Holden Brown. In the end, looked like Prince Amponza there, not allowing Holden Brown to make a play on the ball. Good call in the end from David Erbacher.
And by the time Niang cleaned it all up, the whistle having long since sounded, and it stays 1-0 Virginia. Wake Forest will need an equalizer in the final minute. As Virginia closes in on another ACC win, another win against a ranked opponent, and another step in the direction of setting themselves up beautifully for the upcoming tournament. With just the one more match against North Carolina between here and there. Desperation time for the Deeks. That nearly crossed to the middle, were it not for the foot of Hewlin, and then the header by Hewlin in back-to-back scenario for Hewlin. That was a moment of salvation to some degree for Virginia. Now, quickly to the corner.
10, 9, 8,
Final seconds.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They roll off, and Virginia secures a 1-0 victory over Wake Forest as they win this